Hello, and today I welcome you to the village of Beckington in Somerset, not too far from Frome. We're going to take a look at this old village and the wonderful buildings we see here and explore it all for you. We're going to start to my left and we'll take a look at the old cottages along the way. So across the road we have a malt house, former malt house there. This used to be the busy A36 straight through this village, which has now been bypassed since 1980s. Richmond House, nice there. Used to be a lot of woolen merchants. I'll cross the road from time to time and show you both sides. I'll go across now. The garage across the road, that's been in business for at least a century, I believe. And a very busy family business, been in the family all that time. There is a cafe still remaining here, Maison, which I believe does very well. And that's a grand old wool merchant's house there, isn't it? It's got a lot of vehicles in the way, unfortunately. We'll move along a little bit. You can tell that was a wealthy person's home. It was a village that grew up around wool, so much of the expensive type of property, the grand houses, would have been wool merchants. We're going to work our way down a lot of these roads in a while, so don't worry, we're going to get down and have a look at that one over there, which is Goose Street. Now I'm going to cross the road here and show you the one behind me. And that was a wool merchant's house. You can actually stay there now. It's rented accommodation for holidays. And this whole long wall belongs to that property. It takes up to 10 people according to their website. And it starts from around £4,200 a week. And there's a swimming pool, and where that corner building is, at the end of the wall, that I believe is very close to the swimming pool when you look at the photographs on their website. And there we are. So as you get further up the road, we will reach the community hall if we went all that way up there. A couple of new developments. The road bends to the right to reach the Beckington roundabout where it joins the A36. That's Mill Lane. We'll just take a walk down there in a moment. And again, I'll cross the road so you can see these cottages. It's called Well Cottage in the middle there. And then I'll now turn around in a moment and make my way down to that Mill Lane. We'll go down there. Then we'll go down Goose Street, show you that one. A lot of the cottages are 18th century, built in the 1700s. There are properties built before that, so we're going to tell you a little bit about Beckington. Beckington was in the Domesday Book. It was held by Roger Bushell, and the tax on it of 10 hides suggests it was about 1,200 cultivated acres, and it was a big area for wool trade with fulling mills along the River Frome. Hence there's Mill Lane down there, and we'll go and take a walk down Mill Lane. In September 1766, rioters marched to Beckington and they set fire to the mill and other properties. However, the mill was actually saved. Here's an interesting fact for you, that the writer John Aubrey, who lived from 1626 to 1697, he noted in his book Brief Lives that carrots were first sown in Beckington. So this is the home of the English carrot, if you like. And he wrote that some very old man there did remember their first bringing hither, and that was 1686 when that was written. So carrots grown in England were here in Beckington. And there's more modern properties up here, but I just want to take you a little bit further along. So they have been building fairly recently. It is a private road down to the mill. That's a B&B if you do want to stay in Beckington. On the basis of B&B, you can look that one up. And really say this just now becomes more modern properties. And it's a little bit misty today, so I was hoping to give you a bit better view over towards the River Frome, which was the source of power for the mills. So I'll just stop recording and get down there and see what we can see. Well, it is fairly misty, but down in the valley is the River Frome down there. We're not going to go all the way down there, but the sheep are here messing around amongst the builders' materials. There you go. We'll try and get the grass that's the hardest to find. Let's go back to the main road. So we're going back down now into the village, and we'll pick up from down there. So we've got back down as far as Goose Street, and we'll cross over and take a look at Goose Street for you. And some beautiful old buildings down here. So names often give these places away. So we have the old bakehouse there. Got building work going on that one. And again, these cottages are going to be 400 years old, really, aren't they? The sign above that one. A few modern ones mixed in. Not exactly in design keeping, are they, with the remainder? Probably if they're going to build those today, they'd have to look more like in stone than those do. Got a old hatch there. It's probably some sort of warehousing building at one time. Again, that has the look of a former shop, doesn't it? Oh, a bakery. And that was the old bakery. So a lot of these villages had to be fully self-sufficient, really, and they had the Foresters Arms here. Sadly, there's a van stuck in front. Again, more beautiful old cottages. We'll cross over again, give you a view of these. You can just begin to hear the traffic on the bypass and the bridge across this road. That's a dual carriageway over there. And some more modern development coming up on my right. And the remaining cottages coming up on my left here. And then a very grand house. They seem to like those sort of double gables at the front, didn't they? In the 16th, 17th centuries. And it's a cloudy day. I was hoping a bit more sunshine today, but it is the last day of November. It's beautiful. Morning.
Morning.
And so we're reaching the end of Beckington as a village. There is a doctor's surgery down at the end there, and you can see the sign, surgery, for it. So I'm going to turn around, we'll go back to the end of Goose Street, and then we'll carry on into the next areas. So we got back to the end of Goose Street. Back on the 10th of September in 1663, Charles II rode through here with Catherine his queen. And then on the 15th of September in 1789, it was the turn of George III and his Queen Charlotte, with 3 princesses as they passed through on their way to Longleat. Let's get back down to the roundabout at the bottom now. So back at the roundabout, and the 16th century coaching in, the Woolpack will pop into this road here. This is Warminster Road, which gives you a clue as to where it goes. Again, former shop. Possibly the post office is as a post box just there. Across the road a minute. It's the car park for the Woolpack here. We'll just take a look at the cottages from the other side, and this old wall as well, which is interesting. Yeah, definitely got the look of a shop, that one. This is quite interesting. Got the gateway, little cottage it seems here. More cottages on the other side. I'll just cross over and look back at this one behind me. It's a nice small one, built in, nice small cottage, isn't it? Built into the wall. And again, I'll just cross over, give you a view of these here, and then we'll turn around and go back down to the Woolpack and the roundabout. Okay, let's work our way back down. Oh, what's here? Ah, this is probably one of the village water pumps here, or was in there. Still got a tap on it. I'll show you another one later. So we're back at the Woolpack, and now we're going to go into Church Hill, leading to Church Street. Cross over again, look back with the Woolpack. Interestingly, the phone box is actually now been grade listed, so it has to remain as part of the village look. This is a village that didn't have a mains water supply until 1939. There's so many springs here that the villagers objected to having water put in, and I suppose having to pay for it. But eventually things changed and the water got a little bit polluted in places, especially with drainage from roads and things. Let's cross over here. Another nice old property. This is the old coach house. Try and get to a little bit of distance and you can see it better. As you can see, we've got the church coming up. The old rectory. The rectories are always pretty big places, weren't they? Or generally fairly big. These are very old, as you can see. We're going back to the 17th century here. Just look at the, it comes up on the camera, but the shape of those walls, the way they're leaning outwards now and look a little bit wonky conky. The junior school's round the corner, coming up. Very old properties there. Here's the old school, still very much in use. You can hear the children playing. We'll just take a walk around St George's Church around the outside, and again some more wonderful cottages down there which we'll go and have a look at later. Here we go. There would have been a church here right back to Norman times and possibly Saxon times. The tower is Norman in origin, so year 1000 plus thereabouts. 1066 is the start of the Norman period. And I expect there's a few old tombs and gravestones around here. I'll swing round and give you a view from this other side in a moment. Looks like we have a missing pillar on this one. Turn around this way. One blanked off bricked up window. It's a nice fairly still morning. Nothing really in the way of a breeze, which is nice. That stops the wind noise we get on the microphones, which is good. So we're going to work our way around back around the church in a moment, then along the road, and then sort of complete full circle back down into where the Woolpack is. So you've had a look at all the sort of major old properties within the village itself, which is nice. Just going to see what it says on here. That belongs to Beckington School. There we go, they've got a playing field tucked away behind the church. Something that is interesting is this tower against the tower. Would this have been much earlier? It's got the small slots in it rather than windows, and the windows in the main tower or openings have been blocked up at the top there. But this is interesting, stuck on the side, isn't it? If anybody knows, that could well have been the original Norman tower, and then the square one built onto it. So look at that again. Another angle for you. And there is some writing on the top one. Curious. This grave is 1864. Let's go right back to the front now. With a cartouche on the wall. Another one of those little towers there, look. I can't say I've seen any like that before. Let's see if we can make out what's on the cartouche here. It's very weathered. Memory of my wife, Phyllis. Begins with SL. And I can't Somebody's carved 1830 into the bottom afterwards. But very old. That's a very old porch as well. Tell that by the piece over the door frame there. So work our way from the church now along the road, do our loop past the school, and before I do, just round this corner, I'm going to show you something else. These lovely old cottages. Here we go. A village pump. Wasn't far to get the water for these cottages, was it? Kids having fun in the school. Is it the more noise they make, the happier they are? That's a question for you parents. Got a mixture of old and new here, slightly. So what it says here, it's been well done up, hasn't it? And that's the old parsonage. So there's an old rectory and an old parsonage. You just don't get walls like this anymore, do you? Very rare. The cost of building walls today is highly expensive, but they were a mainstay in years gone by. More modern property behind the trees here. Now we're coming up to an interesting building now. I'll tell you about that one in a second or two when we reach it. It's just round this corner. The nice old property there too. Grand house that, wasn't it? Still is. So we leave Church Street. This is called Castle Corner. And there is what is called Beckington Castle. Didn't start out life as Beckington Castle. There's a grand house. It stands on the site of an earlier medieval property. It's built by William Long, clothier and patron of Beckington Church. And you can see very old properties around here. Several local woolen merchants have owned this over the years. So 1839 it became known as Castle House and then later Beckington Castle. In 1870 it was sold for 450 quid. It's now used by a business. Down there that was a recording studio. That's Wool Hall, it's 16th century. It was set up by Tears for Fears in the 1980s, used by many artists including the Smiths and Van Morrison. It closed in 2004. Just look at the age of the doorways and things we'll find. We've got the slots in the wall here. Look back this way. And then on the end here, some more grand houses. Just think of the history that's taken place here. And this brings us back now to the main road, so we can look at the properties that we've missed along the way. Here we go. So we're going to walk on the road for a while before we get back to the pavement, I think. Not too far. So back in the 80s, before the bypass was built, this was just absolutely full of traffic. It would be even worse today had it not been built. Huge amount of traffic goes along that A36. It comes from the M4 past Bath right down to Southampton, so a lot of lorries use it. Imagine all those thundering through this village. It was chaotic back then. Just imagine it now. It would be truly horrendous. There's a little walkway there back to the castle area, and that house, which is a nursery. Now this is interesting. We're coming up to this little building on the corner here. Now I've driven past this many times. It's on the end of Stubbs Lane. But there's a grand house behind there. Probably just see it all covered in scaffolding. So it's some sort of little summer house, something like that, I don't know. Gardener's shed. Now what I'll do, I'm going to give you a view of this property in a minute. Beckington House, this is called. Currently under construction, as are one or two places here today. It's a grand place, isn't it? So we'll go round in a moment, take not this left turn here, but the one after, then come back out at this road just to show you that loop. So I'm going to first of all cross the road. I like to see everything I can, and if I'm too close to it, you're not going to see the look of the buildings. Again, that property on that was a shop, so they've taken out the shop windows. There were quite a lot of shops in Beckington. It's a busy little place, and especially when traffic came through it, because people would stop. So let's go around this side here. Got nice green fields behind. Again, very old houses. And so is this one here. There's a former doorway there, and windows by the looks of it. And this was the chapel. It's now Beckington Preschool, 1786 that was built. Again, these are really old walls and old cottage ends by the looks of it too there. There's a chimney there. Fascinating. You could spend months researching each property, finding out about them, let alone who actually lived there. So much history in places like this, going back hundreds of years, 1,000 years. Certainly a lot of recorded history would be. Now I'm back where we started from here, so I'm going to just switch the camera off and pick it up again at the next junction. So we're back at the junction and we'll carry on. Now, getting closer back to the start of our village tour. It's called the Grange. There we go. It's another lovely old property. Shame we have so many cars in the way, but as I said before, can't do much about that. It is modern life. And we're back at the Woolpack Inn. Now just get away from the traffic noise there, just to say thank you for watching Roland's Travels videos. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please do. It'd be great to have you as a subscriber. Click the notification bell, and every time a new video is uploaded, then YouTube will let you know. So thank you very much. Don't forget to check out my website as well, rolandmillward.com. The link is in the description below. It'd be great to have you on there as well as a subscriber. It's entirely free, and you'll get more articles, a newsletter, and information about the places I visit as well. Thank you. Take care.